Good evening, afternoon, night, morning, whenever you find a way to watch and listen to this podcast. It is me, Omar Ashan Borja, the Burger Popper. And man, we are 5 days to the beginning of the college football season. Week 0, it's already here. I am already procrastinating so much podcast and so much writing because the off season is over almost over, and we're ready to talk about actual games being played. And joining me is one of my favorite guests that I've had. I mean, it's a really fun conversation the last time he came on. It's been overdue, and I'm joined by Marcolm Banks of HBCU Nightly, just to talk a few HBCU topics that came up, a few topics that relate to his alma mater, Morgan State, gonna jab at him a little bit with some of these Morgan State takes that I have, and just some of these questions about the schedule. But I'm just glad to have you on, Markham. How's everything going?
I appreciate that, Omar. Thank you for having me on. Man, everything is good. Just really excited for the season. Like you said earlier in your intro, like it has snuck up truly upon us. Body wise, I think, or mentally, I should say, like I'm kind of in like still June mode. Um, but I guess they say on a calendar like it's 5 days away, so here we are.
Yeah, it sure snuck up. I mean, I know with these temperatures, it definitely feels like June, July
Yeah,
out in Oklahoma. It's really awful. They weren't kidding. But yeah, like I mean, I guess I'm not complaining that it's already August. I mean, time flies, but I'm just ready just to let the debates be settled on the field.
that's it. That's it. Put them pads on and let the wheels do the talking. Not no more mouth. Well, maybe after the play, but let the pads and wheels of each player do the talking.
Yeah, absolutely. So, get I guess going down to some off-season topics, right? Just the last bit of off-season. So, a couple weeks ago, I want to say maybe it was even last week. Yeah, last week and a half ago, ESPN announced that they moved South Carolina State, North Carolina Central to ESPN2. But the caveat was this game will be played at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And just for some data, just because I love my TV ratings data, Sports Meter Watch is one of the best sites out there. May or may not have visited frequent. I may or may not frequent it on DoD computers. I mean, not a bad site. I mean, I promise you, I'm not shirking the taxpayers' money too much, I should say. But so looking at some data. So yes, the ESPN bump is real in terms of bumping games from ESPNU to ESPN2. Just look at Harvard Cornell back in 2023. That was bumped from ESPNU to ESPN2 on a Friday night, thanks to the vacancy left by the MLB wildcard. That game got 153,000 viewers, and that's the highest rated Friday night Ivy League game on record, I guess, as of 2023. The next year, viewership almost doubled for Harvard Cornell. Had 312,000 viewers on ESPN after the same situation with the MLB wildcard vacancy, opening up a spot on ESPN2 for those two schools. And then additionally, Arkansas Pine Bluff and Prairie View also benefited by getting 147,000 viewers on ESPN on that same Friday night as the second half of the doubleheader. Now, the caveat though, the daytime kickoff for this is hugely detrimental for the ratings, and of course for the game day experience, which I'm sure I'll let you take the reins of, honestly. But going for the ratings, so I guess the closest thing I've seen to this, like a daytime kickoff slash start time for any big event, is the 2020 MLB wild card in terms of the pandemic. Because I remember
Is that New York versus Cleveland?
no, I remember that one being at night, but
Okay.
I'm talking about Rays, Blue Jays, and Astros Twins. And Astros Twins game one and game two, or game two, only had 731,000 viewers for Astros Twins on ESPN with I think a 5 p.m. first pitch.
No.
For 2020 Rays Blue Jays for that wild card game, a 4 p.m. first pitch, there were only 345,000 viewers, and that is the lowest viewership of any MLB playoff game on record.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I know the debate and the discourse about exposure is rampant. I put the air quotes. Exposure is rampant.
Well, you did it right. Right. You did it right.
I just want to get your take. What this is like. This is the biggest game of the 5 game sprint that is the MEAC schedule for each team. I'd say.
Debatable.
I think it is.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
I think it
I'm not mad at why you objectively saying that, but debatable. Yeah.
I think it is, but it's one of the biggest games. It's on ESPN too, but man, I feel bad for the fans because there was a stretch of time where it's like I couldn't even remember the last time I got out of work at 5 p.m., much less got out of work in time to make a 5 p.m. kickoff. Hypothetically,
I do think they actually moved the game from ESPN2 to ESPN, but that's either.
Oh, okay, that's right.
But even with that, if you don't mind me just going into it, because I think this is where we're leading off into that 5 p.m. kickoff is just brutal. All right, if we're going to be honest, for several reasons. If we're trying to let's talk about a program. You said that it's the. If I put my objective hat on, the biggest game of the conference slate. Well, if that's the case, for a program whoever is a home team, which is in this case North Carolina Central, you would want that to be kind of like your biggest atmosphere of the year, especially being a home stand, especially being against a rival. And then you'd also want your top recruits, prospects that you think you could sign based off of the aura, the energy, as well. We talk about the experience, and that's just going to be utterly obliterated with a 5 a.m. kickoff. I mean, on any college campus, I don't even. I mean, I'm not aware of West Point's, but I know at Morgan State's campus, you still had 4 p.m. Friday classes, right? So like, you know, unless you're a diehard, football or sports fan at your school, and you're foregoing academics, which I don't think your parents or guardian or whoever else would oblige you to do. Which I mean, that's your prerogative at that age. You're just not going to have that huge of a student section, let alone trying to get just average community members, right? I mean, classes at high school level, whatever have you, or middle school. That's usually 3 p.m. between 2:30 3 p.m. Let alone it's the South. Friday nights. We all know what that means. High school football. So the people that you're that or not catering, but that you would want to be involved in the viewership, there's going to be a huge swath of that just won't be able to watch because of other engagements, physical engagements, that is. And I just last but not least, I'm appreciative of that being on ESPN. I very much so am, and shout out to Mr. John Grant for facilitating that of ESPN events and Wide World of Sports. Uh, but respectfully, um, I do think, and this is also in conjunction with the conference leadership. I think it says a lot to say that our conference's best possible marketing game between storied, I was going to say franchises, but storied programs um, in regards to North Carolina Central and South Carolina State is at best a undercard tune-up or undercard matchup for I don't even know who's playing that ACC game slate, right? Like we don't even know who's playing that, but that's what it's for, right? Not, and I'm not, and no disrespect to the ACC, but it's not even a SEC, game, which they now have the contract with ESPN and ABC on. So it's like it's very in that effort disheartening to kind of wrap your head around. And once again, like we understand, exposure is excellent and great, but like to switch out one uh any type of advantage that the home team could have had for postseason purposes or whatever have you, let alone from a marketing standpoint. Either how much viewers or not even how much for a content perspective, actually, because evidently ESPN valued uh, the MEAX matchup versus PTI and what other, because I don't, they don't have around the horn anymore. So actually, I don't know what the 5:30 slot would be, but but at least PTI, they put that game over that. You know, something would have asked me or commanded me if I was conference leadership to say, hey, well then you need to cough up more money. Don't know if that's truly the case from the officers in Norfolk, but like I think that's a very hard ask, especially for some two competitive what type of coaches, and that of Tannis Berry and Trey Oliver.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. To be honest, like yes, like ESPN, it is great, and I don't deny that that Mr. John Grant, pulled a lot of strings or made a lot of moves just to make it happen, and maybe that was the best that ESPN had to offer. Like, I mean, being a conference commissioner isn't easy. Like, I mean, I'm sure that's not what he would have wanted to do. I'm sure he's privy to the game day experience, obviously being the commissioner of the MEAC.
Commissioner Stills is Sandra Stills is the commissioner of the MEAC.
Wow, my bad.
John Grant is the head of the HBC arm of ESPN events, but they do work when they get these nationally televised games on the HBCU side. They work in concert with one another.
That's on me. That's on me. I got to do better research.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
I could only name one conference commissioner. That is the conference that my school resides in. So
as you should, and you know what? The American is doing it right. Okay, I will, wholeheartedly admit that. I wish we was in the American.
I mean, it's America's conference. I mean, needless to say, but I guess before we get off track, like, yeah. So like, I don't deny that Commissioner Stills like, pulled all those strings into everything that she had to put their teams in the best position revenue wise, because there's also revenue perspective too with the house settlement. And I mean, shoot, maybe this should be on a podcast bingo card, but I'm going to say what I always say. It's like, no one knows anything with a house settlement. Like, I don't have the type of time to be reading hundreds of pages of legal proceedings. So what, I don't know what type of time you have to know what the house settlement has in store.
It's still evolving.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, I can't deny that, but man, like the fact that it sets a precedent that this is something that's, I guess, acceptable to do. I think that's kind of a heavy word, because like that implies that I'm saying that this should never happen. Like, this is just like, this is unacceptable. It's ridiculous, but it's a complicated decision, obviously. But man, like you said, like that's probably going to be the most like electric atmosphere of the season. And I think of 2023, and you're going to hate me for saying this, watching Howard versus North Carolina Central, trying to, go on a date on a Saturday at Cheddar's, trying to crane my neck and like getting glimpses of how Green Stadium looked, with Howard playing North Carolina Central, the Celebration Bowl or the MEAC favorite. I'm like, man, like I would die to be there and not in this Cheddar's right now.
I mean, but equally so, or the year prior to that, 2022, Central versus the school in DC, and they're down at O'Kelly Riddick, and you're talking about the atmosphere is rocking, and I'll truly, ever since I played down, my once upon a time, my playing days, OKR has always been one of the as a fanfare and fan engagement, and like very intelligent fan base, knowledgeable, and they know when to get rowdy, when to get rowdy. They know when to be quiet, when to be quiet, and they also know when to have some fun. We're both married men, if so I'm only going to go so far on that, but they also know how to show you a good time. That's a better way of saying it, or phrasing it. But they know how to show you a good time. They know how to do all of that and then some. and once, like I said, it's a very beautiful atmosphere and environment, and it, I think it showcased itself several times throughout the years, whether it was the Thursday night game when during Damon Wilson's Morgan State head coach first season, when they blew us out, 59-20. Whether it was the I think it was like either 2 years ago in 23 Thursday night game against South Carolina State, the 60 plus to 21 send off of Coach Buddy Pugh's coaching career, but like they have these sort of games and atmospheres that you want to see in a prime time or showcase style environment, and you're just not going to get that. Not nearly to even a fraction of that degree come this go around, just because of the timing of things.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned like those Thursday night games, like particularly like the kickoff game. Like, I mean, I remember too, like, how great Davis Richard was, that game against Morgan State back in 22, and same thing with the send off, like with Buddy Pugh. Like, these are memorable moments, like, because they're on weeknights and the fans get to be a part of it. And so with this, I mean, I'm interested to see, I guess how creative, the athletic administration is out in Durham, in getting fans to this game and getting the students particularly. But
and God forbid, and I think also one of my fears, sorry to cut you off, is that it's a co-Durham home game slate, right? Where on one side of the town you have Central in their home game, but on the other side of town, you have Duke in their home game, and Duke has, I would say, because respectfully, and decently have gotten better. I'm not gonna say like they're world beaters, but they're decent compared to a decade or so ago. So like now that's possibly taking away additional fans, or you're going to have people who are either on a fringe of which one should I go to, or you're going to have people who just say, you know what, because the town's going to be such a ruckus because of both teams playing, I don't feel like going, and that's also what you don't want.
Yeah, I didn't factor in the Duke aspect too. With that, just so many moving pieces. Like, I don't envy any conference commissioner / programming director for any network in this day and age, especially the ADs with trying to make ends meet. Like, I just saw before hopping on about how Middle Tennessee saved $668,000 just by having one helmet and two jerseys, and I'm like,
what?
Yeah, just by having one helmet and two jerseys for their team, and I'm just like, man, like I understand where they're coming from, but they're gonna get clowned so hard because
because they literally only have because they don't.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, two uniform
They
sets.
don't have a swag. They don't have like a color. Oh, they don't have a color.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm not. You know what? But they did just break out, I think, a new multi-million-dollar football facility. So, like, I'm not gonna lie, like hearing that, then like you see that they just broke out the new football facility, which I will admit does look pretty good. Kind of gives like the house poor vibes. I'm not going. I'm trying to talk smack, but it does kind of give off like, come on, whoever, God forbid, but whoever, come on, Billy, come out, come hang with us tonight. We're going to the bar, and Billy's like, yeah, guys, I don't know if I'm just gonna have the bar come home, but that, yeah, that's I like I said, like you hit it right on the head. Like ADs and presidents and commissioners got to figure out a way to make revenue. But I mean, and I might be facetious here, but like, what's next, right? Like, you find a prime time slot after The View, on a Wednesday or Thursday afternoon. Like, if you thought Maction was crazy on a Tuesday night, well, get ready for me on a Monday. 12, high noon on ABC. Like, right, other markets might have the whole noon station news channels on and whatever have you. But like it was just it would be like that's kind of where we're going with where like you're gonna have random football games at random times for the sake of exposure, and I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea because where does it end?
Yeah. I don't really have anything else like to add. Like, I mean, I'm with you with that 100% because I don't think it'll go as far as you say, but you would be surprised, honestly. I do think though that it might take like another pandemic for something like that to happen, like
You're
at
right.
daytime.
Yeah, you're
Um,
definitely right. Yeah, a 10:30 kickoff on a like a Tuesday morning, like what would
yeah,
that be? But instead, like would be make it more wicked is like it's like a 10:30 in the morning kickoff Eastern Standard Time facing two West Coast teams. Like that's kind of what we're approaching here. It's like okay, well this nobody wants a 7:30 local kickoff. Like what is
yeah.
this? Pop Warner?
Oh yeah, I remember those days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going on and staying in the conference to something that's closer home for you. So for the first time in the over 4-decade history of the Circle City Classic, the Morgan State Bears will play in Indianapolis against Miles, but we'll cover that in this discussion in terms of opponent quality and just in general the non-conference schedule, which I know it's not your guys' fault, but I know you are a staunch opponent of playing of a certain school playing a Division II team every year. But first, like, I mean, I'm surprised honestly that Morgan State has never played in the Circle City Classic because I know the HBCU Blue Blood list was making its rounds and was causing some great discussion. I do consider Morgan State to be a blue blood, but I think for them, I think your guys' program profile really reminds me of Syracuse, a program in the Northeast that was really relevant, back in the day.
Yeah.
And then kind of lost their way, for lack of a better term. But still has that like really like when you think of Morgan State, like you think of Roosevelt Brown, like those names come up, like you think of Ernie Davis. Like I like the other day I was thinking to myself like, man, like I want to watch The Express. I couldn't find it on any of the streaming services, but that type of thing comes to mind when I think of Morgan State with you guys being a blue blood.
Yeah, just I know you and I we'll find a way to get off tangent and we'll bring it back. So let me just go away just a little bit on this because like you brought up something. It's funny. I was at a recent practice and talking to an alumni from the 1970s teams or late 70s teams, and we were just talking about how like within our brotherhood, we got guys that you just don't think about. Like I don't know if you ever heard of the name Mark Washington. Mark Washington played 9 years in the NFL, primarily for the Dallas Cowboys. Was a starting corner for 5 of those years. I think 3 or 4 of them he was an all-star. And then on top of that, like I wouldn't say it's a jeer. I don't call it a jeer because like I don't know how many people on the planet Earth could play mano a mano against Lynn Swann. But like in like I think it's like Super Bowl like I don't know whatever it was like 10 or 9 or whatever have you, maybe it was less than that, 7. Like he's the one who went up against Lynn Swann every freaking play, and like Lynn Swann got the bet, but like it took those majestic NFL films, classic slowed motion athletic plays that you'll see for all eternity. But we had a guy that was in that play. Like we had those types of guys. Another one, like that nobody talks. Well, unless like you're my dad's age or whatever have you, or like you're a kid like me that grew up on that. Like Raymond Chester. Like I remember my freshman year back in 2013, like homecoming. Like I stumbled after the FAMU game. Like I stumbled right into Raymond Chester. I said, "Excuse me, sir. Like you, Mr. Chester?" He was like, "Yeah. So nice to meet you." He was like, "Nice to meet you too." And like he was like part of the brotherhood, and we just gave each other a fist bump and just kept it moving like along our own ways. And but like put the same pads, well, not the same pads, but like, in the same area vicinity, you know, of Cold Spring Lane or whatever have you. Like he had to endure the same sort of things that I did, or even Willie Lanier giving us a pregame speech in 2014. Like, these are there's living legends or whatever have you, like that we have that a lot of people don't realize. And like, shout out to Rosie Brown and his family. I haven't had a chance of actually meeting, but like mainly a lot of the good players from the '60s and beyond. They know very well his family and whatnot. And so like, yeah, it's I get what you're saying, because the whole blue blood thing. That's why we were talking about it. It definitely does give off that vibes. But I also say, like, as of recently in the last 10 years, we've had it may not be a lot, but considering we're an FCS program, I think we had like 7 or 8 guys go to the league. Currently, right now, we have two on rosters. One in Joshua Miles, who I played with my junior and senior year of college, and then we got another guy now in Elijah Williams, who's doing his thing in Vikings training camp. And even though that D line is the forefront of the Vikings defense and probably the best unit all around on the team, he's just making a name for himself. And like, to me, that's the embodiment of what Morgan State football is all about, is grinding, gritty, gutsy. It may not be pretty, but it gets the daggone job done. And like, in our song as it goes, we are the Bears, we don't take no mess. We get mad in a minute, we stomp you in your chest. Like, that's just how it is. So like, I digress on that. But as it goes into the Circle City Classic, you know, uh originally the matchup was supposed to be against UAPB, Arkansas Pine Bluff. That wasn't cool. That wasn't cool. Y'all chickened out on us because y'all knew y'all was gonna get that whooping. But that's neither here nor there. Um, that was the original matchup, and we was looking forward to that's another pseudo kind of SWAC MEAC challenge, just to let the little brothers know what it is. But instead we get Miles, who in their own right is a formidable D2 SIAC, Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference foe and contender, perennial contenders. Them alongside with Tuskegee and a couple others. The names are escaping me, but I think considering that historically speaking, the Circle City has always kind of been notorious for SWAC and SIAC teams, um, primarily like Kentucky State or Central State or whatever have you. And even though ironically we do play Central State later on in the schedule, but in Baltimore instead. I think it in that reality, especially within the Black community of the Midwest, it gives us further exposure. We did once play back in 2015 in Chicago against the school in DC. I was on a team. Played, ironically, it was a lot of great synergy between us and the local fans, because we both had orange and blue and both the Bears. So like, it was, they kind of had a natural team they were rooting for, and we relished in that. Just to see us kind of spreading more of our roots in that Midwestern subsection of the the black population and within the U.S., I think is a beautiful thing, because it's not often that we get a chance to go out there and play out there and really be amongst the community. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, more so on the outside the lines side of things, just to see how Morgan engages with the city of Indianapolis, and how Indianapolis also embraces Morgan. So I'm definitely proud that Morgan is represented from that regard.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Morgan State end up in, because I love my neutral site classics. Love it is, I just love the aspect of just neutral site games in general, especially HBCU classics. The travel, maybe I was born to be a travel agent in another life, because I always tell my wife about, like, if you connect your flights this way and do this, you can do that. Like, there's no shame in flying Spirit or Frontier if you're just going to a game for a day. There's no shame in it. Like if you don't need a bag, why pay for it? Why pay extra for it if you're just gonna be there for a day?
He knows
But
ball. He knows the ball.
those days are over though. Fortunately or unfortunately, but those days are over. But I mean, I just love the whole aspect of it, especially like getting a program with like the rich history of Morgan State, and I like parity, especially in classics too. Like, and I will trumpet this. Like, I'm big on just storylines and just parody and just teams doing cool things. I'm pro teams getting able to do cool things in general, like Mississippi Valley State playing in the Falcon Stadium when, no offense to any Valley State fans, like you guys have the toughest lot in life in the SWAC in probably Division 1, and I sympathize with you guys. But doing cool stuff like playing, in Mercedes-Benz Stadium when,
Yeah,
let's be honest, like the program doesn't have the best shot at going to the Celebration Bowl. Like
right.
that's cool. That is a cool thing, right? Arkansas Pine Bluff, playing in I guess playing in this classic would have been cool, but also playing in the Southern Heritage Classic is a cool thing, right? And seeing these programs get exposure like beyond the Grambling, beyond your FAMU, Bethune-Cookman, beyond like the Bayou Classic and all that. So I'm excited to see that. I have heard some concern though from other people about this, being cautionary for the Circle City Classic. Just with this matchup not being as attractive, it seems like they've kind of, I wouldn't say regressed, but it seemed like for a couple of years now with having North Carolina Central in the last two, with the Mississippi Valley State in 2022 and then 2020 or 2023, whatever it was, 2022 or
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, you're right. I think they kind of it's like almost a 7 year span where it's like Kentucky State, Central State,
yeah,
Mississippi Valley State, then Central. And then it's like now it's but like yeah, it's but and then matchup wise, it's like Central versus Mississippi Valley, Central versus at the time a struggling Norfolk team. And then not to not trying to disparage any D2 teams, but like trying to have a showcase of D2 teams being your front runners for a neutral site game is it is kind of difficult. It's been a while since I saw like um, a premier like top SWAC versus top MEAC team in that classic, unfortunately. But you know, I'm very much so appreciative that they're still willing and open to doing it. And like I said, from the people that have had their alma maters play there and experienced, just the parade and the various activities around the city. They do roll out the red carpet in a very nice Indianapolis way. So I'm very much appreciative of that.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely a classic. I hope to make one year, really, and I hope it stays alive because I mean, we're seeing like less and less. I remember stumbling across, the old Onidan HBCU classic schedule. It's like just like what we've lost over the years in terms of just like random games at NFL stadiums. I mean, I know they're bringing back the Philadelphia game because Mike Vick and Deshaun Jackson are coaching against each other. I see an eye roll, but I mean, but they used to have that game like I guess semi-annually with Delaware State. It didn't draw well, but it was still something that was cool for the fans. But I mean, I just miss like I guess this like proliferation of all these games at NFL venues. I understand it's like expensive, but hopefully the Vegas thing in the future we get to see you guys in Vegas against Grambling. Um,
Woo! Or maybe there's some sort of LA Classic or LA Bowl. That would be dope. You don't have to have it in Ram Stadium, but you could have it maybe at LA Galaxy or LAFC, their stadium, and maybe draw a nice crowd there. But yeah, I do see this matriculation of creeping more and more out west. I do see that. I even as tough as it is, but we was talking about before the show of your military career and where you've been posted at, and like I would love to see a HBCU game at the Sun Bowl.
Okay.
Like that's just a very dope venue. Like and just majestic as well. I can only imagine watching a game as it's dusk out there. So like, those that type of kind of I would say not small time. I don't want to call it small time, but like it's for lack of better terms, boots on the ground engagement. I think is necessary because people can finally see it, hear it along with the bands and all whatever have you. It's all right there, and then those are memories that people will never forget.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I still remember seeing Southern. Like I wasn't as much into HBCUs as I was back in seventh grade. Like I knew about the Bayou Classic, I knew about the MEAC Swag Challenge, but when Southern played New Mexico, when I was in seventh grade, seventh or eighth grade, I think it was a 2012 opener, and my dad and I just walked across the street and just watched the Southern band do their thing for their own kind of fifth quarter. I didn't even know what fifth quarter was back then. Man, like that was unforgettable.
Right? No, absolutely, absolutely. So it's um, definitely interesting to say the least. But like I from a field perspective, I think I'll say this. I'll give Miles credit. I think they're going to give a formidable, tough first quarter. I just do think through attrition, just because we have more bodies, we'll wear them down eventually, and just how just the way the cookie crumbles, we'll probably be victorious in that game. Not be trying to be disrespectful whatsoever towards the Miles Bears. Shout out to the Bears of those Alabama boys, but I just think that the Bears of Baltimore will come out victorious.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. I do hope for a competitive game, for the fans and for Miles too, for their program
Yeah.
visibility. On the topic of classics, so just moving on from there. So a report came out that the matchup for the 2028 MEAC SWAC Challenge was determined. I think it was John Grant that announced it, that it would be Jackson State versus Norfolk State. And for me, like I said, I'm all about parity, and it's like, how hard is it to throw, I guess, one, Texas Southern a bone, right? Because if I mean, if you have Michael Vick coaching, hopefully still at Norfolk State at that time as the headliner, it's just stick a team there. Like any team is fine. Like
Yeah.
Texas it would be fine, but everyone wants Jackson State, because Jackson State's still, they're
Still
they're
buzzing.
still
Still
king.
buzzing. Yeah, they're still buzzing.
They're still king. But does this hurt you? Like, and I know I mentioned what you said about what you said about Morgan State worrying about only one game in Atlanta. But I have to say that the MEAC SWAC Challenge is more, it's more of an event now, I'd say, like on a national scale, because it's on ABC. Especially with last year's game, like that was an instant classic. It was must see TV. Um, and it's must see TV every year. But I mean, it's an ABC appearance, and that's, any team wants that exposure.
So I will say I think more so in the last 5, 6, 7 years. I think whenever they did make the switch from ESPN to ABC, it has taken off from an exposure standpoint. Like you can just see in the ratings, it's now like hovering around that 900,000 to 1, 2, 1, 3 million mark. Every year. So like it has definitely gained a lot more popularity. Um, and I would say that's probably just from that standpoint. Maybe is it's the unfortunate piece that like I said, in regards to parity, you're not showing that or showcasing all the programs that could be uh, 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 showcased. Uh, but like I said, at the end of the day, whether if I was a player, but now as a former player and supporter of the program, and just now just within the HBCU media sphere, if you will, I think I am. I think I'm kind of like an HBCU media bro. Not sure. So, but you know, my main thing is December. I want to, I want to. There's only two things I want to do come late December or mid December. It's see my team in person in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Dome playing for a Black National Championship, winning that, and then watching probably the first 2 quarters, if I can, of Army Navy. Like that's kind of what like that's that's what it is for me. Like you know that's what I know a lot of people in our program we want. I mean, yeah, I suppose it'd be awesome to experience the MEAC SWAC challenge, but the main thing is the main thing for us, and that's Atlanta when it counts the most in December.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I really don't have anything to say about that because I mean, yeah, that is the main goal. Honestly, it's just kind of I don't know what the word to say. It's just kind of disappointing. I guess that's the first thing that comes to mind. With it being a showcase for both conferences, but in I mean the 20th anniversary is I guess it was either last year or this year, and you have two schools, one from each conference that has never appeared in. I mean, I think for what always gets me, at least from Morgan State, like Texas Southern, you can stick any team there that would be a draw, and just have them. But it's like it would be so beneficial, so easy for ESPN to market, Morgan State Grambling to the general public. Like this was a game that back in
So
the set.
yeah, so I will say that game in particular because actually next season, if you will, actually marks the what's it, is it the 60th or 20, maybe it's 2020. Actually, I think it was 2028. So maybe 2028. Either it's 26 or 28 is the 60th anniversary of the historic Morgan Grambling game where like I mean that game was actually a by another Morgan former Morgan Bear, Bill Roden. I don't know if you know who that is, but famous. He was well, he is a famous sports journalist, um, a Morgan alum. Uh, Probably is the greatest HBCU football game ever played in regards to just uh, sheer talent of. I mean, it's equivalent of like Nick Saban's Alabama versus Larry Coker's Miami U team, right? Like I think on any given time, I think it was on any given time for all 22 players on the field, whether it was Morgan or Gremlin, it was almost like between 16 to 19 of them was going to the NFL. Like, I mean, so like if you got 16 to 19 guys out of 22 going to the NFL, like that was practically an NFL game right there. So like that lets you know how much talent there was, and actually Morgan eked it out and won that game. So you can kind of say like we won the greatest game of all time. So you could add that to the blue blood lore, But I digress. But I whether that's a MEAC SWAC challenge game, more so I would want those types of games to be acknowledged and showcased and put to the forefront by both conferences. Like I think those types of um, I want to say rivalry. It's not really rivalry. I mean, we have played each other multiple times, but it's more so like a nice nostalgic matchup that you know this new generation doesn't know about because God rest his soul, Coach Robinson passed away almost 20 years ago, and whatever have you, and his legacy. I'm not gonna say he's forgotten, but just with time, things kind of lose grip a little bit, and so for a strong HBCU portion of the population, that would be like yesteryear to them, and you kind of maybe re-engage or not even re-engage, but just newly invigorate this new subset of fans and students of these types of different matchups. So I think that's kind of what I'm leaning towards more of like that's what I would want to see as an emphasis or something of a priority by both league offices. But like I said, the challenge is a challenge. Challenge isn't a championship.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the Celebration Bowl, right? Being the prize and all, but I mean, an appearance in ABC is appearance in ABC. Like as an Army fan, like I guess a better comparison was like playing Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium. Like seeing that, I'm like, man, like I don't care if we win, we're here.
But okay. I mean, I that's true. But like, I also get nervous because like I feel like because of the whole ordeal of several teams haven't played in the challenge. Like, what type of matchups are you giving? Like, please don't give like a Morgan versus Mississippi Valley State because like that's not gonna like nobody's watching that, or like Mississippi Valley versus Delaware. Actually, that would be kind of interesting because like I mean, no offense, but like you see like kind of like the fight for the bottom, like like it like ultimate grudge match. Like, it's almost like one of those types of fights where like you see like somebody like throw out like a spoon or like a butter knife and like let the best man win. Like that's kind of what type of football you would see. You know what I mean? Like the most weird ways of the sport come out. I mean, oddly enough, I think you gain some new viewers one way or the other. So so I but for Morgan's sake, I hope it's not a matchup like that. Instead, it's more enticing and you can kind of see like if we want to have these talked about the blue bloods, well then pair them, match them up. Let's see, let's let the debate let the debate be on the field instead of on thumbs and on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. So I just hope, I guess sometime in the next few years, like Morgan State finally gets an appearance. Same with Texas Southern.
Yeah.
I had to ask you because I mean, you being a Morgan State grad, but like I'm more so upset that they couldn't just throw Texas Southern a bone. Like everyone's there to watch Michael Vick coach. Like he could be I mean, Norfolk State could be playing. I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't shoot. I was gonna say Virginia Lynchburg in that game. I don't want to disrespect them, but they could be playing them on ABC, and people wouldn't care. They would just want to see Mike Vick coach.
They would just be watching. They wouldn't even be watching. It would just be a split screen, like early, Jackson State Deion Cheddar's era, whereas like one half is like live play, the other half is just Deion doing this, with his shades on. So like, yeah, that's probably how it's going to be.
Yeah, I asked at SoCon Media Day. I mean, I was just trying to make my rounds and see who wasn't getting interviewed. I interviewed Max Poley, a safety from Wofford, and I asked him, I was like, yeah, like do you take any excitement, any stock in playing against a team coached by Michael Vick? And he said, well, he's like, that is cool, but it's like we're not playing Michael Vick. And I'm like, that's fair. I guess I deserve that, but so it's just funny though. But it's like, I mean, I'm just more upset because like they could have thrown Texas Southern a bone there, but I don't think I've seen a Texas Southern fan. I've seen like most of the HBCUs represented just on my Twitter feed. I don't think I've seen
so like I'll say this. They're during the fall, they're in hibernation. But come November, when basketball, you roll that round ball out. That's when the Texas Southern folks come out because like they're big time basketball school in their own right.
Okay, yeah, that's right. And I'm not a big basketball guy, honestly. So yeah, that makes sense. So I think we've covered all of our topics so far, for that we had scheduled, Marcolm. So that was your time to promote anything. The floor is yours. Just any final thoughts, any last words?
Yeah. So you can catch me on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. On a YouTube near you. On my show with my co-host Dave on MD for stands for Marcolm and Dave. You can also catch me on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. as I guess a guest, part of our network's HBCU Nightly main show, the HBCU Nightly Show, featuring Joshua Sims Sr., Erica Lee, and BJ Jones. Both shows are fun. You're gonna have a good time. You're gonna laugh. I mean, you might curse a little bit. You might laugh and pee at the same time because you're laughing so hard. So, it's we talk about sports primarily. I mean, very primarily we talk about sports, but sometimes we dabble and venture into other topics at hand, and it's just a good time. So that's where you catch me on. And then, you know, also one thing, um, October 25th is Morgan State's second homecoming. Um, you know, we go to our satellite campus in Washington D.C. and you know we kind of have our satellite school, who are also known as the Bison. Um, they host us. Well, because we're their big brother. They host us, and throw us a party, um, on their behalf because we're just we own them. So be ready for October 25th, where we take on the Mad Cows of the school in DC. And if you don't know who that is, I'm sure Omar will fill you in one of these days. And where we'll, win the Battle of the Beltway. So
Yeah, I don't want to disrespect any fan base, but yeah,
no,
October
disrespect,
25th.
please. There's a certain fan base that you can disrespect all day, every day. This isn't Navy. This is no. You can disrespect.
So yeah, October 25th. Morgan State Howard is a very very great rivalry. But yeah, I mean, just two great institutions. I think Morgan State is R1, right? R1.
We not so we are, if you're going by numbers, I think numbers wise, we have reached our marks to be designated as an R1, but the official classification doesn't come out until 2028, when the Carnegie, um, classification of higher education. I think they do the actual official designations, but currently, as we speak, we have reached those marks to be an R1 institution. You know,
Yeah, which is great. So just two great academic institutions squaring off on.
one's better though. One's better. One in Baltimore. It's just
I'm in no position to decide that. Not quite my expertise. So I'll just leave it there. But Markham, was always a pleasure. You
likewise.
guys do great work at HBCU Nightly. It's a fun listen. But thanks again for joining. Hopefully it won't be a long time until the next time that we chat. I'll try to
If you need, listen, if you need an additional guest for like Army Navy, listen, I'm your guy. I
Okay.
I
Yeah.
will, yeah, I will please, I would gladly, like, I always feel like I'm actually mad I never got recruited by one of those schools, but like that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they are great schools. um, but I'm almost blushing there. But yeah, like, well, Jackson and I we'll have you on for Army Navy week for our hardware. I mean, we cover the other games too, but I try to be partisan in I guess other like outside of As for Football with the Army podcast. But for us, like we'll have you on. I mean, we'll have a focus segment on Army Navy, and we'll have some fun because there aren't
All
that
right,
many games that week. But
that's
thank
it.
you again, Marcolm, and until
Yeah,
next time, everyone.
absolutely.
Uh, peace, love, and soul. It's a Burger Popper. Bye.